All right, Bigfoot Society, I've got the privilege of talking to a gentleman that I talked to about a year ago, I think, Mr. Harley Owens. And he's had some really interesting things happen over the last year since I got to talk to him last. But Harley, how are you doing today, man?
I am doing extremely well, and it's an honor to be back on here with you, my friend. You were the first podcast that I ever jumped on, and I'm glad to be back, brother.
Oh, absolutely. And, if listeners don't remember Harley's first interview on this podcast on Bigfoot Society, and I'll link it in the show notes. You may have heard him on. You've been on a few other shows since then. I mean, you've been on Sasquatch Chronicles. You've been on Bigfoot Crossroads, right? Sasquatch
Yeah.
Odyssey, a few
Yep.
different ones, and I might be forgetting some. But it's great, when one can help get the word out about what's going on out there. But Harley, do you mind getting my listeners up to speed with maybe a summary of what kicked off things, and we'll play a little bit of audio too.
Yeah. So September 23rd, 2020, that was the day that changed my life forever. I seen a creature that wasn't supposed to be real. And I got some remarkable evidence. I got a photograph of this creature, and I got photo and video and trackway, and then I got some remarkable vocalizations, and I didn't really expect to start researching Bigfoot, and lo and behold, December I started doing it. So it's been a wild journey, that's for sure. It's it's one I didn't expect to be doing, but I'm doing it and I enjoy it, and I love raising awareness for it.
Because, yeah, I think we both feel the same way, which is make a platform for people to be able to share what they encountered. It ends up helping the people that are listening. There's a lot of people listening where they've got something in their backyard. It's messing with their stuff. They have no idea what's going on, and they randomly stumble upon Bigfoot Society or any of the other Bigfoot podcasts. And it's the least we can do to try to help out what's going on with them. But let's. I'm going to play the first sound, and then you can kind of help fill in the blanks. And then it sounds like you might have some updates about what you found from your research too. So I'm just going to put this in here.
All right. Never fails. I get goosebumps every time I listen to it.
Dude, the first time I heard that, I was like, what in the world am I getting into with this one? It's wild, dude. Fill us in
Yeah,
with
I
what
know,
we've
and
got going on.
it's that was the evening after I had seen the creature, and whenever I heard that, I was like, I got to record it, because whenever I first seen it, I was like, I got to get a picture of this thing. And I managed to get a picture because I wasn't going to take a video, because as sure as I tried to get a video, it would have been gone. So I snagged a picture, and then my phone was just drained of battery, like it was just what we call, Bigfoot researchers, they call it zapping. And it's the phone is still messed up. I actually still have the phone right over here, and it's still messed up. And it was definitely a life changing experience. And those sounds. It's not an elk. I've had people telling me it was coon dogs. No, it's not coon dogs. I've had people tell me it was coyotes. No, it's not coyotes. And I got a analysis done of this audio, and it ranges from 500 hertz all the way up to 2,000 hertz. And that's not human in no way, shape, or form. And it's it sounds human-like, maybe a little bit, but there's some other stuff that's going on in the audio as well, and it's very strange. And in the other two audio clips, they're the vocalizations are further away, but those happened the next night. they, like I said, they were further away, and I couldn't really make out. But I sent those off to somebody else, and I was like, dude, there's more than one of those things. Then they're communicating back and forth, and I was like, what have I got myself into? And also on that day, that's when I found the tracks, and that it was crazy. It was because I'm 6'6", and I could not stride the stride between those tracks. It had literally came down from the area where I had seen it the day before, and it was coming into that sawmill, looking around, being nosy. Because I mean, I'm at an old sawmill in the middle of the mountains of Virginia. So
Okay.
all the Great Smoky Mountains, I mean, and the Appalachians, all that stuff just runs right through there.
Let's play the other sounds real quick, just so listeners can be reminded of what else we had going on there the night after you had the first sound recorded, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now they're a little bit further off, but you can still hear the sounds.
I don't know if I'd go back to that same area after hearing that, dude. That's wild. Did you ever go
You
back
know,
to that area?
I'm very tempted to go back. Now that I've started doing this, I want to go back and with what I've learned now, and just go out there and see if the signs, from what I've been learning and what I've been out there doing, and I don't know if they're still there right now, but I can almost guarantee if I go back into September in that area, I guarantee they'd be there. I don't know. I feel like they're going to be there.
Oh man, you. So I would say if I was a Bigfoot researcher in that area or the area that is, it would be hard for me not to go back to that area. It's just weird, man.
It's very weird, but now here I am 4 years after, almost, well, September 23rd this year will mark 4 years. And, I'm almost like, I won't go back on my 4th year anniversary of seeing this thing and, doing something like that, just make it an anniversary or something, just go back.
Mm, that's a really cool idea, actually. Uh, Man, you never know what would happen. Let's play the third sound as well. Yeah, dude, you got to consider going back. Remind me, what's the clanging in the background? There's like a metallic
There
clanging.
was a old piece of metal that was unscrewed from the building, and it was just slapping back and forth.
Okay, gotcha. There's a question I want to ask you, and so in the Patreon,
Mhm.
have it so that individuals can ask questions if they'd like in the
Mhm.
production assistant tier. And Leslie asks, and this might actually be leading into what's happened to you since these recordings. Leslie asks,
Mhm.
in your sightings and investigations, have the Bigfoot always been on the ground, or has there been any up in a tree or other structures that could be climbed?
They've definitely, from what I've noticed, they've seemingly been on the ground. Um, I haven't found any of the structures that suggest that they've, you know, been above ground. Like that some people find the structures that they believe they nest on above the ground. I haven't found any of that stuff yet. Primarily find is the X's and arches, of course, and then there was one that I actually found this Saturday. There was two trees, and they were probably about 5 foot tall, and then they forked, and then there was a log that was probably 25 or 30 feet long, and it was laid perfectly balanced on those two trees.
Hmm.
It's crazy, and other than that, I have not found anything like they nest above the ground or anything like that. Most of my sightings have been ground level on the ground.
Gotcha. So, kind of take us through. It sounds like after we last talked, you got to a point where you decided, okay, I'm going to start going out looking for Bigfoot in different places. Can you share kind of the general area of where you're looking, what you've kind of found, any interactions you've had, things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all taking place in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in East Tennessee. Actually, it's about 25, 30 minutes away from my house. So it's literally in my backyard. And my I started December 7th, and well, I'll go back actually on Thanksgiving. I took it upon myself. I'm gonna go back deer hunting. That's the only way I'm gonna overcome this. Of what I thought was fear at the time that I had of these things. Because I stopped deer hunting, and this past Thanksgiving I went back deer hunting, and I killed my first deer for the first time since before 2020. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can get back, and I'm gonna overcome my fear and go look for them. Well, I waited, and December 7th come around, and I'm like, well, no better time to start now. And I went out there, and I found a couple of things. I found twist breaks. Where the Bigfoot, they'll twist a branch to break it, and I found a couple of those signs, and I found this structure. There's a dead rotted tree. There were sticks that was propped up in three corners of it from a totally different area. They were just strategically placed, just three sticks, one, two, three, around that tree. And I'm like, okay. Well, at that time, I didn't know it, and I was out there just filming, and I was just being observant, looking around, and it was just eerily dead silent. And I was like, okay, well, I get kind of disheartened. I was like, well, I kind of hoping to maybe see one. And this is actually a place where Scott Carpenter used to research. I don't know if you're familiar with Scott Carpenter. Uh, and this was a place that he went in once and he never went back. Apparently, this is the place that made him stop doing his field research. And, I get back home and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just going to go through and watch Scott's. And I literally watched how he strategically went through frame by frame. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going through there and I literally have one on film sitting there in the laurels watching me, and he's peeking out from around a tree looking at me. Actually, I may be able to pull it up and show you. Hold on, just 1 second. And it was just so close to me. It was crazy. I don't know if you can see him right there. Can you see him? He's right there.
Gotcha. Oh man, that's wild. Well,
I mean, you can see his.
I'll have to ask you to see if you can send those over afterwards.
Yeah,
Maybe I
yeah,
can.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
you can literally see his eyes and his nose. You can see the conical shaped head. I mean, you can even see the line almost. That is crazy.
That's wild.
After 4 years, almost 4 years of it from seeing one, and then December 7th, my first time out there, and I get one on film, and I don't even know he's there. I mean, it was a feeling of being watched, but I didn't think nothing about it. But then when I got back and looking at that, I was like, "Holy cow!" I mean, that is not a bear.
Was it in only one frame, or was it in multiple frames as well?
Oh, it was in multiple frames. Even he was sitting there crouched in beside that tree, and I've got comparison photos to show that that's not a stump or anything that's there. So that creature was there, and then he was gone.
Wow. So you're saying you look through the frames. There are frames where it's not there, and then it shows up, and then there are frames further down the line where it's not there.
Well, from when I first get in there and I'm panning around looking through that area, it's not there. And then 10 minutes later, when I start filming, because I was actually in the cemetery filming, and I come out into the gravel parking lot, and I'm sitting around there filming, and then whenever I go back and look through my footage, I'm like, okay, wait. So I'm going through where I was in there before, and I just filmed through there, nothing. And then I go back to that, and it's. I mean, I've got I'll send you the comparison photo.
Sorry,
I mean,
can you repeat? There was a little bit of audio that went out.
Yeah, like I've got the comparison photos to show that there's nothing there, and then boom, he's sitting right there. I mean, it's wild, man. It was really special to me to just see that, because I'm like, the first, I like to think it's a pretty good picture. I mean, for those that haven't seen it, I'll just share that right quick. He's right there on the cliff, peeking out, looking at me.
And the original one from the first time, yes, definitely.
Yeah, and then lo and behold, it's remarkable to me. And so I'm like, okay. I said, well, Scott's right. You just got to go through very carefully, and look. And a lot of people criticized, Scott for his stuff, and I'm just like, me, I'm just now starting doing this, and I'm finding stuff that he is posting and all this stuff. I wish I could have met him before he passed away, man. That was a bummer. But me and his son, we're in constant contact. So he's pretty lenient. Yeah, he's actually sent me several of his dad's spots.
Okay, so I was about to ask you because let's say for listeners that are not as well versed in Scott Carpenter, his videos, rest in peace. Are you able to share? Was there did he have a name for his area that you found yourself, and then you went to that area, or?
It just came from somebody that knew Scott's son, and then I got in contact with Scott's son after that.
Oh, so this isn't public knowledge. This is Scott's son reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, this is where my dad went. If you want to go, go."
Yeah.
Wow. That's really special, Harley.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're telling me. And I've got several other ones that I haven't even been to yet.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I'll show you another one that I got. Look at this. I don't know if you can see him or not, but he's standing right there beside that tree.
That's wild, dude. Regarding Scott Carpenter's son, what was it like when you went back to him and you said, hey, I've got these pictures from the same area that your dad was researching that you told me about, and check these out?
He knows. His son knows that they're real, and he's just very cautious, because these things. Well, I say things. These beings. I used to be like everybody else. I thought they were some kind of ape, but they are a lot closer to us than what we think. I'll just leave it like that. And it is a rabbit hole for sure. Because I mean, some of Scott's stuff, it's crazy.
It's definitely extremely interesting. The times you've gone out, has it all been in looking at the footage afterwards, or has there been a time where you've noticed something in real time? You've seen something in real time?
Let's say there was one time actually two. Every other time that I've been in there, I've just went over my footage from my back trail cam, because I started using the back trail cam after the 7th. And December 14th, that was when I actually had my second encounter. And I'm going into this area, and I started some feeding stations where I feed them. And I'm walking through there, and my wife was with me too, and I told her to stay on the main trail because I was going off the main trail 100 yards, if that. And it started getting real thick. And I told her, I said, if I start hollering, I said, run. I said, it's probably a bear, because I didn't want to. I mean, she's iffy about the Bigfoot. I show her some of these pictures. She's like, that's something. And I'm walking through there, and I kept hearing something walking over in front of me, and I was like, there's something over here walking. And I'm walking, and I come to this fork in the trail where it goes left and right, and something just look right. And I looked right, and I see this Bigfoot go behind a tree. It's reddish brown, and it's he had gray looking skin, and he goes behind this tree, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was like, this one's a lot closer than what the first one was. I mean, he's 20, 25 yards away from me. And this thing steps out from behind the tree, and it squats down, and there's a bush, and he peeks his head out through the bush. I can see red hair. And
Oh my God.
And then instantly there was one behind me stomping.
Sorry, hold on. Dude, I'm telling you, every time we get into like crazy Bigfoot stuff, the audio wigs out on me. Like, I don't know what's going on. It's weird. Like right when
I'll tell you
start
what's
talking
going
about
on.
the big dude, I'm telling you, like,
It's
what's
the powers
up?
that be.
Do you mind saying that part over with like what happened when you saw the Bigfoot going down? Dude, that was weird.
So he walks out from behind this tree, and I can see it. He's got reddish brown hair, and his skin's gray, and he crouches down in behind this bush, and he just peeks his head out through the bush. And as I'm sitting there looking at him, over to my left, there was a loud snap, like a branch, just a big branch just got broken, just snapped real loud. And then almost instantly behind me, there was one stomping. I only seen the one because I got the hell out of Dodge after that happened. I was surrounded. I had 3 of them. I had one I physically seen, and the other 2 one was to my left, and the other one was behind me. That was a wake up call right there.
From the one that you saw, you know how people have categories of what they think Bigfoot is?
Mm-hmm.
Did what you see, did that put it into a certain category in your mind, or was it not what you're expecting at all?
It was it was not what I was expecting at all. Because they're very human like, very very human like. Because my first encounter with one, it was 70, 75. I couldn't make out much about it. But this one, it was much closer. I could see the face real clear and everything, and very, very human like. It's crazy. So I mean, they I think now. I mean, there's a lot of people that you know hate on this theory or whatnot. I really do think that Bigfoot, were the same way somehow from the Nephilim from biblical times, because, fallen angels, they procreated with human women and made a race of
Mm-hmm.
giants.
Yep.
And sure enough, Bigfoot, giant creature, I mean, they could have adapted over time to become smaller. I mean, it's a good possibility. That's what I think, at least. But it's a huge, the Nephilim and Bigfoot connection. But I lean more towards that.
Yeah, it's weird. The only other interview I've had where I really had audio issue is when the guy started talking about giants and Nephilim stuff a while back, which is not really surprising either. Um, you said that it had a very human look to it. So when you're saying that, was it like you could have seen this guy walking down the street towards you, or is like some people will say human like, maybe like a Neanderthal looks human like?
When you look into one's eyes and it's looking back at you in your eyes, there is a soul behind those eyes. It's almost like looking into another human. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like looking another person in the eyes.
If you had been looking, I'm going to be very careful how I say this. If you had been looking through a scope at it, could you have been able to do usually what you would have done if you'd been looking through a scope?
No, there ain't no way. I'd be doing murder.
Gotcha. Wow.
No way.
That's wild.
No, you can use something dirty. You're not using one clean
I
stuff.
mean, there's a lot. I'll say this. There is a lot of debate behind the Sasquatch Genome Project. But Scott sent in some hair samples from right here in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The DNA shows, that the mitochondrial DNA from a Bigfoot is a human mother from the Middle East, and then DNA is something completely unknown.
Mm. You're talking about the genome project from Dr. Melba Ketchum?
Yeah, there's a lot of huge debate on that, but I've talked to Dr. Ketchum myself, and she seems like she's a very nice lady.
Uh-oh. Yo,
They're trying to silence us.
Someone doesn't want this conversation to happen.
Exactly.
Big time.
I'm telling you.
Harley, what is going on, dude? This is wacky.
I'm exposing the truth, dude.
Dude, this is wired. Oh my goodness, this is weird. I've never had stuff like this happen, dude.
I'm telling you, I'm exposing the truth. I've been on their radar, Jeremiah.
Who do you think?
It's the powers that be. I know who it is.
Yeah.
Because I've had unmarked SUVs driving around my road. For one, our town's cops only have Ford Explorers and Dodge Chargers. They don't have SUVs that are unmarked.
Really?
Yeah. Especially since I had my dog man encounter.
Oh my goodness, Harley, I'm getting wigged out. Oh boy. How close are they getting to you? Those vehicles?
Oh, they'll be parked right outside, and then I go outside and they'll leave. Or even if I go to peek open the window, they'll leave. I don't know if they bugged the house or what. I'll tell you something funny.
They probably bugged your phone.
I sold my truck, okay?
Yeah.
The guy that bought my truck that same evening, he called me. He said, "What did you do?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" He said, "I got 4 unmarked cops sitting at the end of my road."
Holy crap, Harley.
Yeah.
They bugged your vehicle.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I sold it to that guy.
Dude, no way.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Oh my good. I had no idea this episode was going to go in this direction. This is nuts.
Well, when you start talking about the Nephilim and all that stuff, it's kind of hard for people to not try and shut that stuff down.
Yeah, I get it. Do you have like cameras and stuff?
Yeah. No, I don't fool with it. You know, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me, you know, and the only thing I can do is try to expose the truth as much as I can. You know, I got kids and my wife, and, you know, their safety is the number one priority to me, you know. It's crazy.
Because you go to the cops, they're not going to, there's be a whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, this is wild stuff. So you said that you've also seen a dogman as well?
Yeah, but I got another Bigfoot encounter to go over before we dive into that first.
Let's do that.
All right. So January 7th, a group I'm part
of. Harley, what? Okay, so there's
no issues on my end.
This is nuts. Yeah, your battery's fine.
Yeah, I got 70% battery still.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, a group of North Carolina Investigates is a group I'm a part of, and it's Robert Effler and George Lunsford and our producer Eric Courier. We have a podcast, North Carolina Investigates, and they came up, and you know, George, he had never seen a Bigfoot. He's an author. He's got several books out about cryptids and stuff. And then Robert, he runs Go Dark Paranormal and a couple other things. And they came up, you know, and I showed them all the stuff that I'd found from the X's and the arches and all that stuff. And we found some dogman tracks there was 5 inches across, and there was a 5-foot stride in between each track. You know, it wasn't like a regular canine track. You know, they were singular tracks, just one after the other. And you know, we're going along through there, and I think there's some kind of relationship here in the Smoky Mountains between the Bigfoot and the dogman, not fighting or nothing like that, but I'll dive into that shortly. Anyways, so we start coming back down the trail, and I tapped George on the shoulder. I said, "Let's go down in this holler." I said, "Robert and his wife will stay on the main trail," and I said, "We'll stay in walkie contact with them." So we dive off in this holler, and we're on one side, and then there's another side of the holler over here, and we're walking across through there, and I stopped because I seen a big black mass moving out of my peripheral, and I stopped, and I said, "George," I said, "there he is." He said, "What?" I said, "There's a Bigfoot right over there." He said, "That's just a shadow." I said, "Does a shadow move?" He said, "No." I said, "He's right over there standing behind that tree, peeping his head out looking at us." He said, "Harley, that's a shadow." I said, "No, it's not." I said, "Stand right here." I said, "I'm going to walk towards it and see if he'll move." Jeremiah, I didn't walk but 20 feet, and I stepped on this branch, and it sounded like a shotgun going off. And this Bigfoot reaches its arm up and leans out to look for me because he couldn't see me. And George just says, "Oh, shit." And that was his first Bigfoot encounter. So that was very special to share with him.
In the Smokies.
Yep. In the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Oh, wow.
That happened January 7th of this year.
I got to talk to him for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to get you his contact info. Him telling it, it's great hearing him tell it, dude. I'm telling you, he still talks about it to this day.
Can you imagine that's your introduction to the world of Bigfoot, like having that happen to you?
Yeah, he thought it was a shadow. He thought it was a shadow. I'm like, "George, that's not a shadow."
So then after that happened, then what did you guys do? You're like, "We got to get out of here," or what happened?
He wanted to chase it. So what do? I go chasing it with him. So we go running up through there, and it didn't look as thick as what it did. But when we got over there, we were pushing the brush away and everything. But right there in the moss where he was standing, there was the 3 toes in between the pinky and the big toe were perfect. And, you could still make out a little bit of the foot impression, but they were right there perfect in the moss. And we figured he was about 8.5 feet because I could reach up and not even touch where his head was. I'm 6'6" and I could probably reach about 8 foot maybe, and its head was way up there.
Mm.
We call him Alfalfa because on top of his head, where it was raining and snowing on us a little bit, his hair was sticking up. We call him Alfalfa. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. From Little Rascals.
Yeah.
I love it. Did you get any pictures or anything from that day?
I have a couple, not very many. But we actually just went back this last Saturday. We found several 20-inch tracks and a couple of 16-inch tracks.
Really?
Yeah, the one of the really good 20-inch tracks, it was 10 inches across at the toes and it had a 7-inch heel.
Have you gotten to the point where you have been trying to cast stuff yet?
I've got stuff, Jeremiah, but the ground that's too mountainous and rocky.
Sure.
That track that we found that was 20 inches, it was in the moss, and I wasn't even going to try and cast it in moss.
Something you might look into, and I don't know what kind of phone you have. There are some phones where you can get apps where you can do a 3D scan.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, definitely look into it.
Oh, dude, you just made my day.
Because
I didn't know that.
The thing is these guys that are going out and doing these 3D scans of tracks, then you can see it in such a way where then you can see the mid-tarsal break.
No way.
That you wouldn't be able to see just looking down at the track, but when you can see the 3D.
Dude,
it'll change your life.
Life.
So,
Dude,
yeah,
that's
definitely
crazy.
look into that.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I have to look at that. That's crazy, dude. I didn't know that. Well, you taught me something new today.
Absolutely. Glad I did. I'm guessing that area is kind of an unnamed section of the Smokies. Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Probably for the best. Yeah.
Yeah. There is one guy that I will share this right quick. There is a guy that goes up in there hiking with his dog, and he's had 2 run-ins with them, and he didn't even know what they were. One time he was walking his dog up through there, and the dog seen something, and he was going to go chase it, but it came running back, and he just caught a glimpse of it. He said it was reddish brown, and it was there, and it was gone. He said it was crazy how the thing didn't make a sound when it moved. And then the second time, listen to this. So the second time he had a run-in with him, he was walking his dog, and the dog had a jacket on it. The dog goes on up the trail ahead of him. Well, the dog comes back without its jacket on.
What?
Yeah. So he goes on further up the trail. Lo and behold, the dog's jacket is hanging up on a tree about 8 feet off the ground.
Dude. That's wild. That's the kind of guy. So that's a non-Bigfoot guy too, isn't it?
Yeah, he didn't think nothing about it. And then I showed him some of the pictures that I've got of him from my cameras, and he's just like, holy cow. Dude. He said, those are in here? I said, yeah. I said, they're in here.
You gotta pass on my info to that guy. Those are the.
Well, I very rarely run into him. Right. It's just every now and then. I know his name is Mike. That's all I know. It's just sometimes he's in there and sometimes he's not.
If the fates collide,
well, I'm sure they will.
Run into Mike, I would ask you.
Yeah, I'll definitely give him your contact info for sure.
Cool. I love talking to the guys where they have no idea what Bigfoot is. You've taught, and it's a magical thing.
That was me 4 years
ago. That was you, and now you're in the world.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Wild, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't wrap my mind around how you started out not knowing anything about it, and now you're like pretty much have access to Scott Carpenter's spots, the ones where he was like, "I'm out of here." And now you're able to almost in a way continue the research work, you know.
Yeah,
It's
and
wild.
it's he's a huge inspiration for what I'm doing. I looked up Bigfoot research in Tennessee, and lo and behold, his name popped up,
Right.
and I subscribed, and ever since, and now me and his son are pretty good friends now. So I'm really thankful for that. I really wish I could have met his dad though.
Yeah. I never got to talk to him either, which is a big regret. But
Yeah.
and I know different people have different viewpoints on the guy, but hey,
Yeah,
I'm the kind of guy I'll talk to anyone, so it's not a big
exactly.
deal.
Yep. Treat others the way you would
Yep.
like to be treated. That's my motto.
Exactly. So about this dog man.
Bro, oh my gosh. That is something you don't want to run into. I'll just
No.
say that right now. So, January 29th of this year, I think I'm going to go to my normal spot. While I'm driving along, I'm like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, it's further up the mountain from where I've been going. And this first spot that I go to, it's below a campground. And I'm going in there and I'm looking around and stuff. And I find this huge asterisk made out of broken trees. It's literally an asterisk made out of these huge trees that are broken. And I'm just like, okay, that's probably signs of them, because I don't see anybody snapping these trees and just making an asterisk out of them. I mean, I was like, that means something for them, because let's just face it, these beings make stuff that means something. So whether it be food or water or whatever, I'm still hiking along through this area and I'm still finding stuff, and it's still pretty good ways away from this campground where I wouldn't think it would be hikers just out there piddling around. And I find these huge rock stacks, 1, 2, 3, or stacks of 3, and they were within 20 feet of each other. I'm like, that's a pretty good sized rock, and I don't think I could pick that rock up. I was like, if it'd take a heck of a man to just pick up rocks and just stack them in threes for no reason. So I'm like, okay, that could be signs. And I'm just like, okay. Well, I went back to the truck and I go up to this next area. And it's a pretty good little hike back up in there. It's probably 25, 30-minute hike. And I'm hiking along through there. It's cold and it's starting to snow a little bit. I'm just hiking along through there, and I cross a couple of creeks, across these bridges to go across the creeks, and I come down this hill and I cross this little creek, and I come back up the hill, and there's a fork in the trail. One of them goes to the right, and one of them goes to the left to go up the mountain towards a waterfall. And I'm like, well, I guess the left's the only way to go, because the trail to the right wasn't maintained by the park services or nothing. I was like, well, I guess I'm going left. Well, I went up through there, and I noticed this trail that just ran straight across the road, and it was like a game trail almost. And I was like, huh, okay. So I go to the right, and I'm just walking it. It wasn't 50 yards off the main trail, and I'm looking, and I look up, and I'm like, oh my God. And there was 2 huge twist breaks, and one of them was probably about 8 foot off the ground. I mean, you can see where the trees were just like twisted and broken. One of them was facing up the mountain, and the other one, I think that one was every bit of 12, 13 foot tall, because it was way up there, and it was just twisted and broken. There was no other trees in that general area for it to explain that if it was wind or not. I mean, just so coincidentally, there was 2 trees. One's facing up the mountain and one's facing down the mountain. And so I'm standing there looking around. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to run into anything, it's going to be a Bigfoot. I'm like, okay. I just had that feeling. I was like, I'm going to run into something. Well, I turn around and I start walking back to the main trail, and I get back on the main trail, and I'm walking back up. I'm going further up the mountain. It's getting colder, and it's starting to snow a little bit more. And I packed light, so I was starting to get cold, and I'm just like, okay. And I start going up there a little bit more, and I come to a curve in the trail, and I'm checking my phone, and I had 30% battery, and I'm like, okay. All right, so I start going around the curve a little bit more, and I check my phone again. It says 10% battery, and then it shut off, and I'm like, this is deja vu from September 23rd all over again. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to run into something. Well, at that point, I was starting to get colder, and it was starting to snow more, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. So I turned around and come back around the curve. I didn't walk 10 or 15 feet after coming around the curve, and I heard something behind me to my right, and I'm just like, okay, there's something right there, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to look, and it's going to be there. I turned and I looked, and laying there flat on the ground is this huge canine. Huge, dark brown, huge yellow eyes. And I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, of all things to run into, why did it have to be you? And this thing pushes itself up off the ground with its forearms, and it takes 3 steps, and it's at a tree, and it's looking at me. It's got one hand up on the tree, and it's just reaching out its arm to try and grab me. And this thing was dark. It was dark brown. It had, like, in the top of its head, in between its ears, was flat, and like its nose was just smudged up into its snout. And this thing, its hands were almost like a raccoon's hand. I don't know if you've ever seen raccoon's hand. It's very, very raccoon-like. And its tail was almost like a fox's tail. It was just big and poofy. And it had like a mane that run down the back of its neck. And this thing, all these stories that I've heard about Dogman, they have backwards facing legs. And I'm just like, the one that I seen had forward facing legs. It was like just a human like. It was very, very strange. I couldn't make out the feet because of the leaves and stuff, but this thing was sitting there growling at me and all that stuff. But when you look into one of those things' eyes, there's nothing. It's an empty void. It's just nothing. And I just knew I was going to die, dude. I was like, my wife's going to move on without me, and my girls and my son's going to grow up without me. And it was just, everything was just flashing before my eyes, dude. And I'm just like, I'm going to die up here on this mountain. I don't have no phone service. Nobody's going to be able to find me. I'm going to be another missing 411 case. And I just knew I had to run. And buddy, let me tell you, I've never moved so fast in my life. I was running and I was trying not to fall, and this thing was off behind me, and it was chasing me off the trail. And I go to cross the first bridge, and it was still chasing me, and I go across the second bridge, and it stopped chasing me. And then let me tell you, I did not look. I think that's when it stopped chasing me. I don't know, to be honest, because I was gone. I got the hell out of there. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. That was for sure. Because I thought it was maybe just Bigfoot was the only thing. And nope. And the funny thing is, dude, like all these depictions of werewolves and stuff in movies, that's spot on of a dog man. It almost makes you wonder if there ain't some truth in the science fiction.
I think there's absolutely. I think we could get a little crazy with this, but I think that the truth is hidden in the media that is shown to us.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
you could take that all over the place, dude.
Well, and a bunch of these animal attacks and that are unknown. Okay, if it's unknown, then what is it? Is it whatever? I mean, it could be anything. And I think a lot of that's the dog man. I don't think it's necessarily the Bigfoot, but I mean, I could be wrong.
Are there a lot of dogman sightings in that area?
Not that I'm too familiar with. I know there is a woman from, I think she's probably about an hour north of me. I think she's had a dogman encounter. I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I know Scott captured some on film in the Smokies. I mean, I'm not really for certain. I know he's had a couple of run-ins with them. So all I will say, those things are evil, and I will say to anybody, if you run across one of those, run for your life.
It's interesting how you said when you looked into the eyes of the Bigfoot, you saw something that was a human, you saw a soul. When you looked into the eyes of the dogman, you saw nothing there.
It's an empty void, dude. I'm telling you, it's just blank. It's empty. There's nothing. I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I did go back and I did get measurements and stuff of this thing. Yeah, it was a little over 8 feet tall. It had almost 4 foot shoulders, um, and the stride that it took from when it pushed up off the ground from where it was laying at was 28 feet, and it took that in 3 steps. That's an 8.5 foot stride.
Yeah.
So the dog man, those things can move, and they are killing machines.
Have you thought any of what you think the dog man is? I know we talked a little bit about what you think Bigfoot is, but
I think they somewhat fall into that same category of the Nephilim in a way. Because the fallen angels, they didn't just procreate with human women; they procreated with animals as well. And I think that very well could be an explanation for the dog man.
Sure.
Or any other man-like cryptid out there.
Man, this is a wild one, Harley. I didn't know that, but I think this needs to get out, But oh man,
I'm telling you nothing but the whole truth and nothing but the truth, Jeremiah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I stick by, brother. I'm an honest man, and I just want others to be aware.
You've experienced some really wild stuff. What is your goal with all this, Harley? Where do you go from here?
I want to keep going. I want to get more evidence. I want to have more pictures. I want to have more video, and I want to be able to have something for my kids. Whenever they get older, and be like, look, Dad looked for Bigfoot and these other creatures, and look, he's got pictures of them, and he's got videos of them. And that'll be something to pass down to my grandchildren someday. And I just want to be able to, if I can save somebody's life, from acting stupid out there in the woods and ticking one of these things off, or just being out there at the wrong time. If I can save somebody's life, that's done it for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's important if you are going to go out, probably, and just talking to listeners, it's smart to go with someone else. It's smart to tell someone where you're going.
Absolutely.
Even if you have like an Onyx app or some way that someone that you're close to can track you, that's cool too, because we don't want you to be another missing 411.
I also forgot to mention that in that area where I had the dogman encounter, I had a compass with me.
Yeah.
That compass was going haywire.
Just spinning around and around. Oh my goodness. Why do you think it was doing that?
Electromagnetic field.
Yep. You think there was like a portal there, or
I don't know. I don't remember seeing no portal, but I don't know if we can see it with the naked eye or what. But I think there's definitely a connection between the paranormal and cryptid creatures. I will say that, I believe.
I'll tell you this much from people I've talked to off air. You more often than not, you can't see it.
Exactly. It's on a different spectrum than we are.
You feel it. When you walk through it, you feel the difference. Right.
It's on a different spectrum than we are.
It's wild, dude.
It is. It's crazy stuff, but some people don't want to look into that side of it. I mean, just if you open your mind and think about it a little bit, it does make sense.
Well, I think when you start realizing that there's more going on in the world than you can see, that's when you start realizing what's going on,
Exactly. Like all this stuff that's been going on, like the phone's tripping out, and audio, they're trying to silence it, but we managed to get it going back, and we're still pulling through it. It's not the first time that it's happened to me. It's happened on several other shows as well.
Has it really? Oh my goodness, that's wild, dude. Share some about, you started to build a community that is really turned into something cool. Your Facebook group that you've got going on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's Bigfoot Reports and Data. It's the and symbol, not A and D. It's a safe place for people to come on and join and share their encounters without ridicule or nothing like that. I've got a great group of admins and moderators. My good friend Daryl Denton. Oh, he's a good one. He took me under his wing. He runs everything pretty good. He helps me run it, and I've got a great group on there. And it's if you have an encounter to share, come share it. Or if you even have an encounter to come share with Jeremiah, you don't have to tell your name. You can remain anonymous and share your encounter. I decided to share my encounter because I wanted to get my story out there. And I have great evidence. I got a photo of this thing. I got tracks in the trackway, and I got vocalizations 3 different times. And that's a story I can tell for the rest of my life. And I won't. It hasn't changed a lick. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Have you ever hung out with Daryl before?
No, I have not. It's all mostly phone calls. He lives in Middle Tennessee, and I'm out here in East Tennessee. And very rarely am I in Middle Tennessee, so it's kind of hard. But he's planning on coming out here sometime.
He's such a cool guy. I've talked to him, and someday I would like to meet him as well. He's just a genuine, cool individual.
Yes, he is.
His stuff together. But
yeah, he does. He's got some incredible encounters. That's for sure.
Harley, I have a feeling people might want to contact you after this one, and I've made the mistake of being the middleman for episodes like this, and I can't get any other work done. So, how can people reach out to you if they have questions, etc.?
Oh, well, they can reach out to me on Facebook, Harley Owens on Facebook.
Okay.
And they can reach out to me on my Bigfoot Reports and Data group. Also, my YouTube channel as well. I've almost got 100 subscribers on there, so I'm tickled pink with that.
Awesome.
I'm tickled with that. I'm happy with it. And there's a lot of different ways. I've got a podcast that I'm a part of, North Carolina Investigates. You can check that out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I believe we've got it on Spotify as well. If you would like to come on there and share an encounter on there, you could do that. Or if you want to come onto my group and post there, you can post there as well. Everything's welcome.
Absolutely. Awesome. I'll have all that in the show notes. Really exciting to hear everything that's going on, Harley. And I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a good time.
Yes, sir. It's been good to talk back with you again. And I look forward to being back again on here someday, my friend.